Starting out with any new project management software usually feels something like this.
Hey guys, this is Isaac International 1819 with our roll call video, and we'd like to invite all of you to dance it with us, record it, and put it in the comments below.
Oh, what a feeling. Look what we've overcome. Oh, I'm gonna wave my flag and count all the reasons we are the champions. There ain't no turning back. Saying, oh, can't you taste the feeling? Saying, oh, we all together singing. Look how far we come now. There's beauty in the unity we found. I'm ready. We still got a long way, but look how far we come now. Hands up for your colors. Ready the people, a new day has just begun, and I wear my colors on my back. Yeah, we created equal, one race and that's human. Can't wait till they all see that. Saying, oh, can't you taste the feeling? Saying, oh, we all together singing. Look how far we come now. There's beauty in the unity we found. I'm ready. We still got a long way, but look how far we come now. Hands up for your colors. One hand, two hands for your colors, yeah. still got a long way, but look how far we come now, 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 now. Hands up for your colors. There's beauty in the unity. One hand, two hands for your colors, yeah. There's beauty in the unity. Show your true colors. Here we go. Here we go. Hands up for your colors. Represent your country. Raise your flag. Show your true colors.
Please download, grab, and record it, and put it in the comments below.
This is it, guys. This is the final countdown. Woohoo!
Hello everyone, we are about to start and we have an amazing opening video for you all. But before, I have two alignments. First one, remember to mute yourselves so the video experience will be better for you. Second one is, I will put my computer volume in the maximum that I can. Please adjust the volume of your computer considering your speakers, considering your headphones or whatever, okay? So we're about to start. Welcome to VICO and let's go. Guys, I have a very small problem. I am playing the wrong video. This is not going to be the best experience for you, so I'm going to replay again, and I'm so sorry for this.
Do you need any help, Karina? Cookie.
You don't see the video playing?
That's how I call her. Don't
You
be
don't see the
jealous.
video playing? Raed,
Yes.
you don't see the video playing?
The video is playing. I can hear it and I can see it. It's good.
Ah, okay, so it's mine.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean. Ay, what you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean. She say that I'm cool. I'm like, yeah, that's true. I believe in G-O-D, don't believe in T-H-O-T. She keep playing me dumb, I'm a player for fun. Y'all don't really know my mental, let me give you the picture like stencil. Falling out in a drought, no flow, rain wasn't pouring down. See, that pain was all around, see, my mode was kinda lounge. Didn't know which way to turn, flow was cool, but I still felt burned. Energy up, you can feel my surge, I'ma kill everything like this purge. Let's just get this straight for a second. I'ma work, even if I don't get paid for progression. I'ma get it. Everything that I do is electric. I'ma keep it in motion, keep it moving like kinetic. Yeah. Put this shit in a frame, better know I don't blame everything that I say. Man, I seen you deflate. Let me elevate. This ain't a prank. Have you walking on a plane? Both hands together, God, let me pray. I been going right around, call that relay. Pass the baton, back in the mall, swimming in the pool, can't drink them all. When a piece of this, a piece of mine, my piece of sign. Can you please read between the lines? My rhymes inclined to break your spine. They say that I'm so fine, you could never match my grind. Please do not waste my time. What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, when these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion, yeah. I feel like an astronaut in the ocean, ay. What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion, yeah. I feel like an astronaut in the ocean.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Yay! So, hello everyone and welcome. Let me first start my video. I wanted to play again. So, welcome. I am super happy to welcome you all to this conference. This is actually going to be my second ICB, my second VICO. You just got to know my team. And yes, you will get to know more of them in the upcoming days. And I really, really, really hope that you have a good experience during this conference. So to start, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Karina, for the ones that don't know me. I am the current ICB chair, but I've been part of ISEC for around 6 years. So yes, I'm quite of a dinosaur in the organization. And for the 6 years, I've been working in ICB for 3 years. So I had the opportunity to join the board as a team leader directly. Then I was ICB chair for the last term, and I am the current ICB chair again. So I am reterming. Before being part of ICB, I spent 1.5 years as ECB. So I could say that I have a lot of experience with cultural boards inside of the organization, and that's something that I'm really proud of. But there is another thing that I'm super proud of, that is I am Brazilian, and I'm proudly Brazilian. I come from ISEC in Brazil, and this is something that I will take for me and for my ISEC history for the rest of my whole life. There is one last thing that I always like to say, and I think that it's kind of connected to all of the things that I learned in the organization, is my background outside ISEC. So I am a person that is graduated in business administration, but I'm currently working in marketing in one startup, but I'm also a project coordinator in another company. So those are two things that are really connected with my ISEC experience. And these are things that I'm sure that I will keep doing my career. And my ISEC experience helped me a lot on it. If you're curious about me, or if you're curious about how are the things that I do outside ISEC and how I manage everything and how I see the ISEC experience contributing to an external life, well, keep turning to VICO, because one of the sessions and one of the things will be sharing this kind of experience that we have in ICB. Cool. But going straight to the point, I would like to start this opening sharing something that I don't know if you already know, but it's something super cool. That is an ICB long-term ambition. So I'm literally launching for all of you officially a long-term ambition that we created for ICB. And how come and how this is started? So we got a mandate to present to the global plenary to research about the feasibility of having a long-term ambition for the global boards, not only global ambition, a long-term ambition for only ISEC as a whole, but how the global boards would align their role to the long-term ambition of the organization itself. And it was a very, very interesting work that we had behind the scenes. And the output is super good. And I'm extremely proud to present this for you all, because this is not only related to ICB 2021, this is going to be related to the legacy for ISEC and for the next generations of ICB. Cool. So what were the steps for us to create this long-term vision of ICB? The first thing was understand our role. So you will see what we understood and what we wrote by what is the actual role of ICB. Then the second thing was defining the directions and KPIs that we would like to follow. And the third and last thing would be how we would guarantee that the terms of ICB, because usually is what a 1-year term, will be aligned with a long-term ambition. So for the first thing, the role understanding, we decided to understand the golden circle of ICB. So we don't have this golden circle written anywhere. And we decided to go deep on our documents to understand how our documents would reflect on the gold circle of ICB. And the first thing that we got was our why. And our why is something extremely new. Why? Why the why is new? Because we know what we do. We know how we do the things, but it was not clear for everyone why ICB is important, why ICB exists. And then we created this beautiful phrase that ICB exists to make ISAC more impactful and sustainable. So this is kind of the purpose of the board. This is why we exist, and this is why we are important. In the end, everything that we do and how we execute our activities is to make ISAC more impactful and also sustainable. The how of the golden circle is how we execute our activities. And by the how, we understood that is what we have written in the APIP about the board, that the International Control Board remains the final body responsible to ensure the governance system of the ISAC portfolio internal policies, that this system is implemented in all ISAC's entities and bodies. So how are we going to ensure that ISAC is going to be more impactful and sustainable? The how of ICB would be governing the ISAC portfolio internal policies. By the what is literally what we offer for the network and what we offer for ISAC. And we summarize this in 3 points, but of course it's a very long activities and it's a bunch of things that we do as a board. And the first thing is the ECB network management. So we have the ECB as our network directly related right now. So the ECBs are accountable to ICB. The second thing is through audit and review of our internal documents. And the third thing is through customer support. Once we understood the role and the understanding of ICB by creating this golden circle, we jumped into the second step that was the most important one, defining the directions and KPIs that ICB would follow until the 5 years from now. So this is our idea. And the first one would be the direction, reduce risks of ISAC portfolio. What does it mean? It means that all ICB terms would have to be aligned with this first direction for the next 5 years. And the next ICB terms, as well as ICB Aqua, should be aligned, should align the strategies of the planning with reduced risks of ISAC portfolio. And what do we mean by reducing the risks? We aim that by 2025, the ECB network has enough knowledge to identify and reduce risks of our operations through audit processes that improve the quality of our experiences, maximizing our impact. So we want to boost the potential of the ECB network, and we really want to make this network able to identify and to reduce the risks of the operations. Some KPIs that are related to this part of the direction are the number of entities with an audit system approved by ICB, the number of ECB's audit reports sent by ICB, so ECB is reporting what is happening in their national plenary for us, number of entities that we are auditing as a global board, number of the violations that we are identifying and mitigating the situations, and the number of sanctions applied to entities. Those would be the KPIs related to the first direction that we have. The second direction of ICB that all firms should be aligned with is centralize our customer support. By centralizing our customer support, what we aim to achieve by 2025, that our customers can reach the ECB team directly as the official support of the entity, and that all ECBs have a platform to manage EP's requests that ICB tracks in real time. So we are still figuring out how we exactly see this happening, but this idea is extremely important for us to centralize our customer support as one organization. Because what happens today is that each entity has their own way to solve the problems and to support the customer. And what we want to have by the end of 2025, it's a more professional way of the customer support inside of ISAC. The KPIs related to this would be the number of entities with the customer support platform, the number of tickets received solved per entity and in ICB, the average response time per entity, and also the average response time for ICB, the average resolution time per entity, and that's it. So those are the KPIs that we are going to track until the end of our term, and also we expect the other ICB terms to keep on track on that. And the last direction that we believe it's extremely important for the next 5 years, it's to empower the ICB network, because reducing the Isaac portfolio and centralizing our customer support is not going to be able if we don't empower the ECB network. So what does it mean? It means that by 2025, each ECB is valued and recognized in its entity as a relevant body that contributes to the quality of Isaac activities. So we are talking about relevance. We are talking about being valued and being recognized on your entity by the work that you do as ICB, as ECB. And the KPIs that we thought about this one is the number of education cycles run by ICB, of course, but the number of education cycles run by ECBs, this is mainly the ECBs having a good positioning in their national plenaries, the numbers of entities participating in the ECB's academies, and the number of applicants for ECB chair per entity. So we are having strategies to make sure that each entity has a chair and has people that are minimum ready to start the process for applying for an ECB chair, or at least engaged with the process and adding the ECB role on their career plan inside of ISAC. So this slide summarizes everything that we believe and that we see it would be a good direction for ICB in the next 5 years. Then I will let a rhetorical question for you all, just to add on your minds. What you can do and what you can prepare on your entity already, being MC, being ECB, being a member, being whatever role that you have right now, that can be aligned with these 3 directions. You can expect a lot of information coming from the ICB side, but we also expect you to have this on your mind and be aligned with the strategies that we want for ISAC for the next 5 years. That's super cool. So last one is how we aim to guarantee the term alignment. And our main idea so far was to keep using the methodology that we are using right now. And it's a planning methodology of OKRs. Why I brought this point in here? Because this is a long-term ambition to be achieved by 2025. But the first term to start working on this ambition is ICB Aqua. And ICB Aqua started using the OKRs methodology. And I will give you just an example of what we want to achieve as being the first term to work with this long-term ambition using the OKRs methodology. And right now, you will be able to see what is the planning of ICB Aqua for the first year that we would like to achieve all of this planning for the next 5 years. So what is ICB Aqua going to contribute for the long-term ambition for ICB? The first thing, we have our objectives. And the first objective that we have is to consolidate the implementation of the compliance metrics. If we want the ECBs to be able to identify the risks and to reduce the potential risks of our ISAC portfolio, we need everyone to understand what the compliance metrics is and actually be able to execute the compliance metrics. So we have very important KRs that are, for example, 90% of the entities filling the ECB audit report, 100% of the entities with an audit system legislated in their national compendium, and 20 entities audited by ICB, at least in the Aqua term. Our second objective is to enhance ICB data management. So our first step to make sure that ECBs will be able to have a platform and that this platform can be somehow connected is to understand how we can work better with our data. And we decided to start this by leading by example and understanding how we can actually work better with our data as ICB. So the KPIs that we have are, for ICB, our main focus for Aqua planning to help this whole idea of platforms and so on, it's work internally so we can be the example for the network. So we are working on having 3 processes inside of our CS area that are automated, so we can explain to you how to automate your process and how would be a good idea for you to start thinking for your entity, for your national plenary, and efficient use of at least 80% of features in current Zendesk subscription. So ICB right now does have a platform, and we want to boost and want to make a better usage of everything that we have. So if you aim to use the same platform as you're doing right now, you have the example of ICB. But if you want to use a different platform in the future, you also have the example of ICB and you have an idea of what can be implemented in your entity. Third objective is to guarantee the governance of the new strategies. So there are a lot of new strategies going on, and those are some key R's that are kind of depending on how their strategies will look like. So for example, we have the virtual professional program that it's still under research, and we are still understanding how we're going to regulate everything on the documents. So this will depend on the result of the things that we are doing right now together with AI. And we can have as many other QRs as needed based on some ISAC international requests from the strategies that they are developing as executing their AI role. And last one would be make ECBs great at last. This is the last objective for our term, to make sure that we have good pipeline for ECBs and ECBs educated and being able to actually master all of the knowledge that is needed. So we have academies related, we have educational cycles, and we also have VICO as one of the strategies coming from ICB. So I hope that you like it. This is the idea for ICB for the next 5 years, and this is how ICB Aqua is aiming to contribute to this long-term ambition of ICB. And if you're curious and if you want to know more of what we're going to do, how we're downscaling things, or if you want to understand how ICB does things or just get information from our side, VICO is a perfect opportunity for you to get it. So stay with us during the conference and you will receive a lot of content and a lot of things that maybe you didn't know, maybe you just needed to be reinforced, or you already knew that, but it's also good, always good to listen some things again. Cool. So this was my speech for the opening. I am super happy to have you all here with me. So thank you so much for joining us today. But we have a very, very important moment that needs to happen in every conference. And for sure, VICO 2021 is an international conference that requires a lot of effort behind. You see in the beginning that we have technical issues, and that's totally normal. We already knew that these things can happen, and other technical issues can happen during the conference. We are in an online one. But believe me, there are a lot of people working super hard behind the scenes to make sure that you will have the best experience that we can provide for you at the moment. And this is the time that we have to invite these people and to talk a bit. And I really would like them to show their faces if they can. And that's why I'm calling right now Raulito as the OCP of VICO 2021 to say some words and to introduce his team. Raulito, are you here?
Yes, I'm not sure if you can hear me. Or am
I can.
too loud? I'm not too loud, right?
Yes, go.
Hello, thank you, Karina. Good morning, good afternoon, good everyone, what else do we have? Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Yeah. So we already know that this conference is being broadcasted to more than 10 different time zones. But there's one thing that brings you all together, and one thing that you all have in common, which is that you're here now, you're with us, you're welcome, and you're gonna enjoy this, I hope. I hope that you also understand the technical issues that I had. I'm feeling very, very bad. It's because my laptop has been working perfectly, and then the moment where I needed it the most, it just crashed. So we had to save the situation. So I hope that this doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, this conference was a complete chaos. Not the bad kind of chaos, but the good kind of chaos. The one that gets you crazy, the one that gets you like going through sleepless nights and breaking your back and going above and beyond. And I don't know if I would be able to do this alone. The only reason that I love this experience, and this might be the best experience of my 6 years in ISAC, is because I didn't do it alone. I had such a great, such a committed, such a dedicated, such a kick-ass team going, like doing everything that they can, and really like sacrificing a lot of things just to give this to you, just to make this happen for you. And our vision and our approach was always to put the delegates first. And give you the smoothest experience possible. And we hope that's going to be the case for the rest of the sessions. So for us to do all of this, all of these efforts and all of these weeks preparing, someone would expect something in return. but we don't expect much. We're not going to ask you for credit. We're not going to ask you for appreciation, even though that would be great if we can get it. But no, the only thing that we're going to ask you is your undivided attention. I want you to give us a shot and give us a chance to the people that prepared this, either the OC team or the FASI team. You give us a chance to prove that the many weeks that we spent preparing this conference were not in vain and were worth it. And of course, we do believe in the impact and the value of our work, but it would be awesome and lovely if you can also immerse yourself in the VICO experience. And the more attention you give us, the more you actively participate in this conference, and the more you share and you speak and you chat and you do them all, the more value we can give you, and the more service we can give you, and the more awesomeness we can give you. And speaking of awesomeness, I don't want to be the only one speaking here. I want you to hear from my team. So I'm going to have Richard from the marketing team and Serene from the logistics team. And Sohaib is going to have his own part to present the agenda. And then we're going to give back the word to Karina. But just like that's my message to you. You're going to still see me in the next sessions. But my message for you is enjoy this, immerse yourself in the VICO experience, and try to get as much as you can from it. Thank you so much, Richard. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Richard, and I am responsible for marketing together with my bestie, Nehruz. So all I want to say is VICO is so special to us. Me personally, because this is the second time I'm participating in VICO, but this time around, not only as a delegate, but also as a member of the OC. And we have put so much effort and thought into everything to ensure that you have the best of experiences. And we really do hope that this conference you'd ensure you have the best of experiences. And then we hope that it would make you more mindful of the power of intercultural youthful connections in driving the need to follow meaningful change we so desire across the globe. So basically what I want to say to you is that have fun and make the most out of this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Richard. Serene.
Hello, everyone. This is the logistics team. I am Céline, and on behalf of my perfect teammate, Candy, I want to welcome all of you into VICO and assure you that logistics team will be always down the corner, ready to deal with whatever will come up into this conference and try to make your experience as smooth as possible. Just keep your excitement on, because surely VICO will be one of those things that will rock your world. Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate and kudos for this CC team, because they're working super hard to make this conference work. But there is also something that is missing, and we all are super curious to know when we join an Isaac conference. That is the chair. And I have something to say for this VICO that is going to be quite different for the other VICO. I don't know if you remember, but I had the crazy idea of being a double chair. So last VICO, I was ICB chair, and I was also chairing the conference of VICO. And I was like, being a double chair, maybe it's not the best strategy. And indeed, and that's why I decided not to be a double chair, but instead of it, I invited 3 chairs for VICO. So yes, this is something super new. You're going to have 3 different chairs among the conference. I'm not gonna tell you when these chairs are coming, who they are. I will let you know during the conference. But today we have a very, very special person to join us. And who do you think is the chair of the day? Take some guesses. It doesn't need to be the name of the person, but give me a role. Give me a position. Who do you think is the chair of the day? Role: VICO chair, NACP chair, the president of the United Nations, an MC, of course, it's the president of the United Nations, Lua team leader, the PAI, someone from AI. Good, we have some guessings. Now it's time for us to know our chair. I think the chair that is already here between us. And we have this amazing tum tum pa. So I cannot hear you all, but I will just imagine that you're doing the tum tum pa with me and following this amazing gift that I found online. So I hope that the chair is between us, and I will give the mic for this amazing person that I am having the huge pleasure to work directly as being ICB chair right now. So please welcome your chair for the day. That is Lau, your AIVP Strategy Innovation. Hey Lau, are you here?
Hello, people. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yes, amazing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to VICO. I'm super excited to be here and to be your chair for today. So yeah, hello, everyone. I am super. Actually, I was never in a VICO before, so it's my first VICO, and I'm also ICB responsible in AI. I'm responsible for strategy and innovation, which I will tell you a little bit more in the upcoming minutes. But yeah, let's start. So for you to get to know me a bit better and know, oh, who is this person with this jersey that just like popped in here? I have never heard about her. So let's go for the next slide. Yeah, so my name is Lorena, as I told you. You can call me Lau. I never use Lorena, and I am Portuguese and Swiss. I was born in Switzerland, raised in Portugal, some in between. I was part of MC in Portugal, part of MC in Peru, and then I became AIVP. And I have been in AI for 2 years, so the same thing as Karina. I'm also returning, but in a different position. So in terms of my ISEC journey, I was LCVP OGX, I was like member, team leader, then I was LCVP, I was LCP in my LC of Porto in Portugal. Then I went to AI 16-17, I was half a year with AI to be seeder. Then I came back, did my 2 MC terms as marketing and then TL operations for OGX. So I have been in contact with the OGX side quite a lot. And then I became AIVP B2C marketing for 1920, and now I'm AIVP organizational strategy, or also known as strategy and innovation for the term 21, and I was also for the term 2020. So we have like the shift of the timeline. So I have been already since August the AIVP OS. So that is my, let's say, ISEC journey. What do I do outside of ISEC? I am right now studying and opening my own business. I also have a lot going on as Karina in the sideline. I studied economics, but before studying economics, I studied nuclear medicine, and now I'm studying business. So I'm kind of all over the place. I didn't really know what I wanted to study, what I wanted to do. And yeah, I live in Canada now. I have lived in multiple countries, but now I think hopefully the Canadian government will accept my residency permit and I will stay here in Canada, in the middle of very, very cold, very snowy Montreal, which is a great place if you ever want to explore a city that is super international. Come to Montreal, it's amazing, it's very cool. Yeah, so this is me, and this is a little bit about me, but what I wanted to tell you today in this opening is about why we are here, what we are doing, and why is ICB and ECB so important, and why do we want to give so much visibility to this board and like to every ECB in ISEC. We really want to make sure that everyone understands what is the role of ICB and ECB in ISEC, and also what is the future and the evolution. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, but we will talk about it later, I am responsible for ISEC 2025. In ISEC, that's what I do. ISEC 2025 is our long-term ambition, so it's a 5-year plan and ambition for the next 5 years of ISEC. And the 3 things that we have as our general direction. Let me just finish that. The 3 things that we have as a general direction are leadership, sustainability, and partnerships. So we will talk about these umbrellas a bit later. But then I will talk a lot about, let's say, strategy and behaviors and where the board fits in and what is it. But before we go to that, let's remember what is the type of culture that we want to build in ISEC and how does that culture really fit into your jobs and your responsibilities. So if you click next, yeah, one of the things that we identified a year ago when we were doing a cultural research for ISEC is that ISEC is too competitive and too hierarchical. So two things that we wanted to do in the next upcoming 5 years is shifting the culture to a more collaborative and innovative culture. And then we came up with these 3 statements. Own the present, shape the future, lead the change. More than just a statement that is very beautiful that you can put in a PPT, this is an attitude that we as ISEC are going to have for the next 5 years. It's a type of behavior that we want to have, and it's a type of way that we want to look at things. So own the present in terms of how do we look around us and really be honest with ourselves on how ISEC is, where ISEC is, its good and its bad, and own that reality that we are in right now. How do we shape the future in a sense of how do we look at the future and understand that what we do today is what is gonna shape the future and really make that dream come true of ISEC 2025, and then lead the change. How is it that you are contributing directly to that change to happen, to that future to come true, and how are you that agent that is really pushing everyone around you to go towards that ideal that we want to achieve. And sometimes, maybe as a board chair, you might feel very disconnected to this type of things, and you might feel that this is very far away from what you do, and what you do doesn't really fit into that. But that's where I want to show you my interpretation of how ICB and ECB role is so important for this new 5-year midterm direction, and how this really, like how your job is really essential for this to happen. So if you go next, as I told you, we have 3 big umbrellas. So we have empowering youth leaders, building a long-lasting ISEC, and developing purposeful partnerships. This is the major direction that we had. This was created in 2019 before the pandemic in India, when we went the last time that we had a conference, an IC. We did a huge dreaming process where everyone was involved, MCPs, MCVPs, boards, everyone in ISEC could vote for these areas. And together, as 35,000 young people part of ISEC, we decided that those are the 3 things that we want to see in the future. And if you go next. Cool. So let's go one by one. So when we look at empowering youth leaders, one of the things that we want to look at in the future is how can leadership really be the core of what we do. Right now, when we look at ISEC, one of the huge problems that we have is that even before the pandemic, people were looking at exchange and sending people abroad as an interaction that they needed to do. So the majority of our effort went into exchange. The majority of what we did was facilitating that matching process, sending the person abroad. But one of the big things that we forgot is that ISEC, above everything else, is a leadership development organization. What we do is really understanding how can we develop people. And we do that, of course, through exchanges and through other things. But how is it that leadership got forgotten in everything that we did? So kind of that exchange and growing and numbers became so big and so huge, and we forgot about everything else. And with that, we also forgot about the quality of our exchanges and the value proposition of our exchanges, which was leadership. So then in this statement itself, what we want to do is understand our leadership development model, understand how is it that we can give better experiences to people, and how can we empower people to build a community around ISEC and have a positive impact after they leave their ISEC experience. So next. Yeah. So where does ICB and ECB come into that, and what is the importance for ICB and ECBs to make this happen? Of course, we cannot talk about leadership and experiences if we don't talk about the quality of those experiences and how are we actually making sure that that quality is maintained. So in my view and in the view of AI, ICB and ECB is an essential board to really make sure that everything that we dreamed of and everything that we want to achieve in terms of delivering our experiences, having good experiences, and them being focused on leadership, ICB and ECB make sure that that's happening through their audit, through all the processes that we have in place. That role sometimes seems very overlooked, but that role is essential because a lot of times things that are not in place make our experiences not be the best. So how is it that ICB and ECB are gonna work towards making sure that every experiences of ISEC are leadership experiences? And here your role is absolutely crucial. Next. So then we have building a long-lasting ISEC. Here, if you look at the statement, it says by 2025, ISEC has sufficient resources to continue developing leadership for years to come. It's both focused on knowledge in terms of pipeline, having people in ISEC that are working towards our vision, but it's also based on sustainability. Next, and this is what I want to touch. Even before the pandemic, ISEC was extremely unsustainable. We were doing things because we wanted to do the best for the world, and we were extremely focused on impact, which is extremely positive. But at the same time, when we are focusing on impact, we forgot about that we are an organization that needs money. We need money to survive. And although profit is not our bottom line, we need to be profitable to sustain everything that is going on. And here your role is really to guarantee that our programs are sustainable by following the APIPs. And if the programs are not sustainable, if the programs are not complying with whatever is written in the program, in the APIPs, then you have that role of making sure that, oh, this is not okay. Let's tell them to fix it. And you have that oversight and that vision to really look at that. So how you can contribute to making ISEC sustainable is really in working and looking at that and understanding that for ISEC to be perfect and ideal, we need money. And sometimes as volunteers, we have a lot of, we're very afraid of talking about money. It's like a taboo topic, but we shouldn't, because everyone needs money to survive. You need money to live, and ISEC needs money to survive. So for ISEC to survive, we need money, we need to be sustainable, and it's a tough conversation to have, especially now that we are struggling worldwide economically with money, but that's a very central conversation that is coming up for the next 5 years. That is already a central conversation now, and it was before the pandemic. So it was not the pandemic that came and destroyed ISEC. ISEC was already in a bad place before the pandemic. So how is it that as a board member, as ICB, ECB, you can really look at ISEC and the programs of ISEC and making sure that, they are developing leadership, but they're also sustainable and they are good for ISEC. So you're mitigating the risks of the portfolio. And if we go next for the last one, we have developing purposeful partnerships. And here, by 2025, we build and keep long-term partnerships that enable growth. So this is very much looking at the partner side, which you also take care of, right? So if you go next, another thing that we want to ensure for the next 5 years is that we are sustainable in the way that we look at our partners. A lot of times we tend to look at young people as young people, we need to make them travel, we need to make them go. But let's look at the partner side and also understand how is it that ISEC is complying to what we promised to the partners. How is it that ISEC is really delivering the value proposition that we gave to our partners? And that's a very important part that we especially want to highlight. And we also want to make sure that partners do not have a memory that is like our memory. Like, you can find young people everywhere, every day. They don't run out because, we were born, so every year we have more people entering university, we'll have more market. So your market kind of never goes out. You always have it. But that doesn't happen with partners, right? Partners have long-term memory. Some people work 40 years in the same company and they will remember you. So if you did something bad, they will remember you. And as ECB and ICB, we are really here making sure that ISECers and MCs, LCs are complying with that policy that we have and are making partners happy, so that in the long run we have more partners, they are more satisfied, and then we have more exchanges and we have more programs that we are running. So that's very important, and that's also one part of your role. Next. Amazing. So for me to wrap up kind of this space, and what I wanted to say is that I know that sometimes the boards can feel very disconnected of what is happening, but actually you are in a very central place in making everything that we dreamed about make that come true. It is through you that we look at how can we make sure that what we have in paper is actually the reality. How is it that things are working, and where is it that things are not working? And what do we need to fix? It is through you that we support and guarantee that every single person out there has a support if they need, and if something goes wrong, that we make right by them. And that's a very powerful place to be. That's a very big responsibility that you guys have. And I want you to understand how big of a deal this is. And with that responsibility also comes the responsibility of doing a really good job. And making sure that you don't do things halfway, making sure that every time you do something, that something is good, because you are the last, let's say, that body that when something is wrong, they come to you. And that's the place that they should feel safe. That's the place that people should feel heard. That's the place that does and put the customer first, if everything else failed. Hopefully everything else will not fail. Hopefully everyone will put the customer first. But if that happens, you are the last resource, and you are the person or the board that is gonna make that person feel, oh, something went wrong with ISEC, but they really did right by me and they fixed it. And that's a very powerful place to be. Yeah, so that's my message. I think I have one more slide. I don't remember. Exactly. So remember that you need to own the present, shape the future, and lead the change. And also related to this year in particular, 2021, one more click. As you know, AI always has a motto, a type of like, how do we really act in our year? So although we have this 5-year vision, we also want to understand what is it that is our contribution this year? What is it that you're building up to? And although we have 1-year terms, which are very, very short terms, we need to understand is how is it that we built up on the generation before, and how is it that we leave something that the generation next can take. Our stand is powered by courage, lead with purpose, especially in a year like 2021, where the world is extremely uncertain, where things are extremely messy. Powered by courage, and really having that courage to stand up for the right things, talk when you need to talk, and do the right thing, and lead with purpose, always having ISEC's purpose in mind, your personal purpose in mind, and do things that come from the heart and that you really, really enjoy doing. So that's it for my small introduction, and I will still have a space with you, so I will see you there.
Yay, thank you so much, Lau. This was a very good explanation of how ICB and ECB fits into the A 2025. And I agree with a lot of things. I think everything that you said, as being ECB chair, and sometimes as being ICB chair, I did felt disconnected with this whole idea of developing leadership, with the strategy of the organization, because we are used to literally lead with the problems all the time and just solving it. And this is sometimes can be really tiring. But in the end, if we understand why we're doing it and our importance, it will make our jobs way much easier. So thank you so much for this. So guys, you had the opportunity to listen from someone from AI, their idea of how you're connected with the AI A 2025. I know that still today you will have a space with Raulito, my BDT leader, and also the CCP of this conference, to share with you how we come from ICB. We see our boards connected to the 8-2025. It's super similar to what Lau shared with you, but he will bring you more details in one of our sessions for the day. And talking about sessions for the day, I have a very, very, very cool guy to call here and to present the agenda for you. So this guy is working so hard to create an amazing agenda, a purposeful, I don't even know if this word exists, but a very good, beautiful agenda with a lot of things behind. And I kindly ask So to come here, take the mic, and explain his job and what is going to happen in the day. Are you here, So?
Thank you. Thank you, Karina. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Actually, I hope that you're excited as much as I am today, and you're enjoying the conference so far. So, as you may know, like I'm here like as your agenda manager. So just like a quick recap, as I said, like the conference is based on 3 objectives, which are the education, the energizing part, and the connection. And those are the blocks, or those are the objectives that we want to achieve by the end of this conference. And in order to achieve this, we have 3 major blocks to tackle for the whole conference, which are, first thing, we have the consciousness, which is to explain our why and how. And what does it mean by why and how? It means like focus on our purpose, our impact, experience, awareness, responsibility, and seriousness. Then we're gonna have our second part, which is the major part of this conference, which is the fulfillment part. It means like we focus on our what and how, and that means like we focus on our knowledge, role, tools, skills, capacity, transition, alignment between chairs. And finally, we have the continuity part. It means like what's coming next. What does it mean? It means like we're gonna focus on the attraction, the team selection, the transition, the planning, and the team onboarding. So as you may know, like you received my email yesterday, today, it depends on your time zone. So you're gonna find this link to check the agenda for the whole day with the full description of the agenda for every session. So I hope that you already have a look about it. But next, thank you. So today we're gonna focus on the day 1 agenda. So as you can see here, it's like the dedicated for ECB chairs and MC responsible for one track, and the ECB teams for another track, and we're gonna explain it later on. So we're almost finished by the opening, as you can see, and then right after the opening, we're gonna have a keynote with our amazing chair of the conference for today, Lorena. Then we're gonna have the governance system by Karina. Then we're gonna have a small break, and then we're going back to the big picture with Rolito. Then we're going to be divided into 2 tracks. The first track, the ECB chairs and MC responsibles, we're going to talk about the long distance leadership with Lilo, and the other track, which is for the ECB teams, is going to be for the V connection with Cello. Then we're going to finish before the closing, of course, by another session, which is going to be tackled the soft skills, your soft skills, what do you need in ISEC and even outside ISEC, which is about the emotional intelligence with Rolito. Then we're gonna have our day 1 closing, and who knows, probably we're gonna have some surprises there. So stay tuned. I hope that you enjoyed the agenda. I hope that you enjoyed the first day. If you have any question, like we are here as a conference team for you to answer you every question. And yes, enjoy.
Thank you so much, So. And there is only one thing that I would like to highlight about our closing. That is one of the coolest things that happened on last VICO, and I'm sure that who was there remembers, was our fun team. And we do have a special person leading the fun team for this VICO. So if you're curious about to know who this person is, be with us in our evening. We have a special guest from AI to close our conference, our day, that is not going to be Lau. And we have a special person to lead our fun team. So stay with us, come back for the closing, that I'm sure that it will be super, super worth it. So welcome to VICO one more time. I'm super happy to be here delivering this conference. This is going to be my last VICO. So I started with VICO 2020. I'm delivering VICO 2021, and I'm sure that the next team will deliver also an amazing VICO. But this is extremely emotional for me because it's going to be my last ICB conference. So be here. We planned a lot of good things for you. And the day is supposed to be an amazing day. And I hope that you feel it during all the time. And that's it that we had to do to talk to you. I hope that you like it. It's time to start our conference right now. And as so said, and also as Lau mentioned it, we have the first session. That's a keynote, Raising from the Ashes, with our amazing chair representing ISEC International. So Lau, I will give the floor for you, and you feel free to share your screen, okay?
Okay, amazing. Let me just...
Yeah, my dog wants to participate.
Yeah, I also have a dog in my house, so if you hear the dog walking around, you already know. Cool. Amazing people. So let's go and do this. So let me just open the chat so I can see. Okay, cool. So for this keynote, what I want to talk about is what has been going on in ISEC for kind of the last year, and how do we move forward from it. And I think I already started talking a little bit about it a moment ago, and we talked about how the future of ISEC looks like. But let's really look at what really happened, right? That moment that everything changed, everything was put into question. So I want you to take a moment and tell me, when is it, a year ago or a year and some months ago, when did you realize that your reality was not gonna be the same for a while? When the pandemic hit and when you needed to stay home, what was that moment? And I want you to share in the chat, what was that moment that you realized, oh, this is serious, something is about to change? Mentally stuck in March 2020. Yeah, so write in the chat when that happened for you. I'm very curious to see your stories. The moment I entered in ISEC, June 2020, 5 months ago. Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. University is closing. Start of the pandemic, Euro Expo 2020. When I had to return EPs back a week ago. Home office during the pandemic. Not selected in the Indian Navy. When I couldn't hug my grandparents. When operations were halted, March 2020 as well. So you have a lot of different stories here, right? Some people realized this, and for some countries, this was a reality very early on. From some countries, it's still not a reality, and for some countries, it has been a reality recently. For me, the moment that I realized that this was extremely serious, I was in Euro Expo 2020 also, which was a conference that we hold in Europe. And from one day to another, we needed to cancel the whole conference, send everyone home. And I wanted to visit my parents back at home. I had 3 flights already booked. Everything was booked for me to go home to visit my parents. And I needed to cancel everything. It was a very big mess because at the same time that we were canceling the conference, same time that we were looking at how do we get everyone from Euro Expo back home, I was also looking at how do I get back to Canada. So definitely there is a lot going on in the world right now. And there is those moments, maybe related to the pandemic or maybe not related to the pandemic, in the last few months that you realized, oh, like something is different, things are maybe not gonna be the same. I cannot leave my house, or I cannot see my parents, I cannot see my grandparents, I cannot travel. Or maybe you had someone sick in your family and you passed through a loss, or maybe you passed through a scare. So all of us have been in this situation, and that's something that is very common, unless you live in a country or territory that did not pass through this. The general consensus is that everyone is feeling this. So then, of course, when all of this is happening, the big question is, when you're an ISEC International, is how does ISEC look like if we cannot travel? How does ISEC look like if we cannot leave our houses? How do we do a conference? How do we do what we do? Because the first instinct was, what ISEC does is exchange. We do 45,000 of them a year. How is ISEC going to survive if everything is halted? And maybe you're in a very different reality, but for example, here in Canada, I still have curfew at 8 p.m. I cannot go anywhere without a mask. There's no gyms, there is no entertainment, we have no restaurants and no bars open since 6 months ago. So we are in complete confinement, and that's just the reality I live in. So like, how does ISEC survive in a reality where so many countries are on different pages and you cannot travel anywhere? And for me, it was a lot about, when thinking about how do we fix this, was a lot about looking at both things. How do we progress, but what is the essence of ISEC? We needed to ask ourselves all the difficult questions and look at it as, what is it that ISEC really is as an organization that is gonna be our core? Is it leadership? Is it exchange? Is it our why? Like, what makes sense right now? What is it that we want to do and we can do with ISEC? And what is the one thing that will never change? And those questions open a humongous Pandora box for us. And then another Pandora box was, how do we go from here? What do we do? And how do we adapt? But if there is one thing in ISEC that I have learned, is that we have been around since 1948. This is not something new. And although it's distinct and although it's different, it's not new, as in people asked themselves the question before, people looked at this before. We had moments like plagues, we had moments like war, that we needed to look at the essence of ISEC and how we do what we do and where do we go from here before. But then for us it was, how do we design the future if we don't know how tomorrow looks like? How do we look at this and understand what is it that we need to do now? Like, how are we getting all the EPs home safe? How are we making sure that our members are safe? Everyone is safe. How do we make sure that we keep the doors open, because suddenly we have no income streams, suddenly we have no money, and suddenly everything that we were the best at doing, we cannot do anymore. So how do you have that reality, but you still need to look forward and work towards something? But what are you working towards? How do you look at the future and design the future and think, oh, this is where I want to go, if everything is being put into question? So that for sure was one. And then another question that we asked ourselves when we answered, leadership is what ISEC does, that is the one thing that will never change. It's leadership. But how do we develop leadership under any context? How do we prepare ISEC to have programs that work even if we cannot go outside, even if we can never travel again? So how do we do that? How do we protect our customer in the middle of a pandemic? And how are we already advancing this and thinking, okay, this is happening now, but what if this happens in 5 years from now, 2 years from now? What if we need to shut down again? Like, how are things gonna look like? So definitely that thought process, and I want you to think about that and put yourselves in that position of, if you would need to make decisions for ISEC today, what kind of questions would you ask yourself? How do you like connect an organization that is all over the place? What is truly important? That question is like, you cannot do everything. What is it that is truly important for us to do right now? And what is the true essence of ISEC? Because in a lot of entities, the culture is still that, oh, ISEC is exchange, and everyone knows you as an exchange organization, and exchange was the core of everything, and exchange was moved by, like, everything was moved for exchange. You entered the organization, you only heard exchange. But if you entered in ISEC, for example, a year ago, that was not the conversation that you heard. That was a completely different rhetoric. So we are in a space in time that everyone in ISEC right now lived such a different context. In my year, when I entered ISEC, and I'm very old, I entered ISEC in 2014, we didn't even have EXPA, okay? We had myisaac.net, which was another platform, which was very shitty, and it was terrible. But that's the reality. So for me, I always knew ISEC as that organization that makes you travel, you go to conferences, you meet people personally. But is that the true essence of ISEC? How can we adapt the essence to be in a virtual environment or to be in a different environment? So definitely, we needed to rethink that. We needed to understand that it's not about being physical, it's about sharing that connection. It's about the true essence of ISEC is cross-cultural understanding, is you being in a room full of people from different countries and territories and have a conversation about the future, have a conversation about now, and understand that the world is bigger than your small bubble that you're in, that it's bigger than everything else that is happening around you. And I don't know if you have that, but sometimes I have a hard time to go back home and to be with my family and my parents, and they don't understand what I have seen, and they don't understand what it is that is so amazing about the world, because they never lived it. And teaching that to people around us and making them look at that, that's the true essence of ISEC. The true essence of ISEC is developing yourself, being aware of what is happening in the world, and take action towards it. Leadership is the true essence of ISEC. So how do we take an ISEC that is completely shut down? We couldn't do anything. The only thing that we were doing was handling the crisis. How do we progress towards it? And how do we rethink about the possibilities? We maybe never thought about doing certain things that we are doing now or experimenting with now. And how do we move forward? And one of the biggest things is that to move forward, you cannot be risk averse. To move forward, you need to understand that you will try many things, and many things won't work, and one thing will. And that one thing is gonna move us forward just a little bit until we have the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. So when you start inventing new things and we start looking at new things, the reality is that you are not in the comfort zone anymore. You are doing something that is completely different. I have a team in ISEC International, so we are a big team, and in that team we have more teams, and my team is the innovation team. I have 4 people working full-time in understanding how is it that ISEC is going to look at the future. We wake up every day knowing that we know nothing, and knowing that we will research and figure out a question, and figure out the answer to a question. And maybe we will go to sleep and not have the answer to that question. That's our job. But what I want for everyone in ISEC to understand is, how do you really think about every possibility that we have? How do we design an organization that is ready to empower people? Everyone, not only members, but how is it that everyone that contacts with ISEC can have an amazing opportunity and feels that they are able to leave ISEC and have a better life and have better opportunities after? Because ISEC is not made for you to stay here for a lifetime. It's made to open your eyes to the possibilities that you have. It's made for you to understand who you are, what you want to do, and how are you going to contribute to the world. That's what ISEC is for. And when we were looking at our plan, which I talked about a little bit, we understood that although the direction made sense, this is going to stay even after the pandemic is here, we needed to look at how do we make this happen in a different way that we are used to. And yes, this is still the direction, this is still what we want to achieve. It never changed because it made so much sense, because ISEC was already in a bad place. If you were not in ISEC before, ISEC has a background in the last 5 years that we became obsessed about growing, doing more numbers, doing more exchange, growing on the cost of our quality, on the cost of our customers, on the cost of our members. And that was not okay. And the best thing about the pandemic, and always look at the positive and the negative, it made us stop. And it made us reflect on what is it that we are really doing. Is this okay? Are we actually serving our customer, or are we just doing this because we want numbers so that our entities can win awards? So we went ahead and created a plan. And this is, let's say, the plan to rise from the ashes in the next 5 years. Another big thing to understand is that although we have 1-year terms, you will not fix everything in 1 year. And having that understanding that in your year you will fix something, and then in the year after someone will fix something else, gives you power to really focus on what you want to do. Because normally when you're in ISEC, you have a 1-year term, you want to do everything and make everything perfect, and then in the end you realize that it's too much and that you are doing too much for you. If you ever worked at a corporate, you know that things move slowly, and things move very, very slowly. So ISEC is kind of the opposite of it. So we go extremes. We're like, we are gonna fix the whole organization in 1 year. That doesn't also happen. So although we are way faster and we have an amazing system that allows us to change leadership every year and keep going, we are also not that fast. We're also not gonna change everything in 1 year. So how is it that we keep the agility of ISEC, but understand that certain things need to build up year from year from year? How do we change everything in terms of the way that we look at it? So we have 7 strategies for the next 5 years to make that direction come true and to make that direction come to life. We are gonna look at our HR and understand how is it that we recruit people, serve people, how is it that we empower our members and our boards and our MCVPs, TLs, all of that, to keep in the organization. How do we measure success of a member of ISEC? It's not by the amount of exchange that they do, let me tell you. That doesn't make sense, because a member, ISEC's membership itself is a program. You enter ISEC to develop yourselves, and while you're doing that, you're contributing for the organization. But you should not be measured by the amount of what you do, but by the quality of what you do. And by, of course, all the other metrics that you will have. But majorly, we needed to rethink the toxic culture of competitiveness that we had in our organization. So that is one. Then we have finance systems evolution. If you are in ISEC for a bit, you will understand that data is not our strength. We send you a form for everything. It's all self-reported. It's a bit of a mess. So how is it that in finance we have enough information to really take decisions to the future? How is it that we look at our money and make smart investments, and don't think also just because we are in a pandemic, we cannot spend money in anything, but we actually do the smart investments that are aligned with our strategy. How is it that we look at money is a very important question so that we don't repeat our behaviors from the past. And then when we look at leadership, how is it that we measure leadership? How is it that we actually say, oh, if you enter in ISEC, you develop your leadership, but where is the data? Prove it to me. if there is one thing that our new generation is that they want the backup for whatever we say. There is no saying empty phrases anymore. And we need to be better at that. We need to take the core of the organization and really make sure that if we say we develop leadership, we have a way to measure it, we have distinctive qualities that we know, okay, if you enter ISEC and if you do this, you will get better at this, this, and this. And then how is it that we look at our leadership development programs and create more of them, but in a different way, right? So we have one, which is, we have exchange. So we have global teacher, global talent, and global volunteer. That is gonna stay, it's not gonna go anywhere. We have membership, but what is it that comes next? That is the question that this strategy is gonna answer. And we have some things that you're cooking in the books. And then how is it that we position ISEC as a leadership development organization? Brand positioning has been such a difficult thing because people came to us as, oh, ISEC develops exchange. So then I need to go and that I will only see ISEC as an exchange organization. But how do you change that mentality of our customer to think, oh, ISEC is about leadership, and they hold us accountable to that specific thing. And then we have the partnership ones, which is how do we look at the market that we have and reach out to more partners in different sectors, different areas, and how is it that we have a system to manage all type of partners, not only partners that are involved in exchange, but business development partners, PR partners. How is it that we make their experience better by managing them in a better way? So all of this is the strategy that we have for the next 5 years, right? This is our plan on how we want to raise from the ashes and build up an ISEC that is better. And this is our plan. So this is the 5-year plan. And of course, every year we will have those strategies and a different project goes under that strategy that builds up on the project before. So in 5 years, we will have an ISEC that looks different. And that's the objective, an ISEC that is better, that is built better, and that is built to last. So then, in the middle of all of this, in the middle of all of this plan, you have your own stories and the stories of people that will come after you and after you and after you, and maybe you will leave ISEC and in 10 years from today, someone will contact you to share something or to share your experience, and you will understand that ISEC looks very, very different from what it is. I remember I come from an LC in Portugal that is very old. My LC is 65 years old, if I don't remember well, so 65 years old. And the cool thing about that is that every conference that we had, the founder of our LC would still come to our conferences. So imagine having this person, which is 90 years old, sharing about how ISEC was in their time. It's crazy. He never missed a conference in his whole entire life. Every quarter, he would come to our conferences. And that was so powerful because this person would share about their experience. And every time an EB would have a problem, they would come and say, oh, our directors are having problems with this, this, and this. And he was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Everything will pass. You're worrying about the wrong thing. Because if you pull out, you will see it in such a different perspective. And you will understand that you will have problems today, you will have problems tomorrow, but the important thing is to enjoy and to fix those problems if that problem is something that you want to fix. So having that perspective of an older person for me was very valuable because it puts everything in perspective. And he had such an amazing experience, and he knew 30 generations before me that I had no idea about. He knew every LCP before me, and he's like, oh, there wasn't an LCP that has been a woman in 5 years, and he knew that. And he's like, you have a very big responsibility. You are different. So knowing that and knowing the history of ISEC is so big, And also understanding that your experience is different from everyone else's is very important. And understanding that what you do is creating thousands of stories and making sure that thousands and thousands of stories are delivered in a proper way are very important. You are just one of thousands of people that pass through ISEC. And the ISEC portfolio is the one thing that makes everything happen. The ISEC portfolio is our way of ISEC, of externalizing all that strategy into something actionable and to put out there something that is very, very clear. We have 3 phases. We have engage with ISEC, experiential leadership development, and long life connection. Those are the 3 phases that someone goes into. And then hopefully at one time you will go into the LLC phase and you will meet all of these amazing alumni and even maybe open businesses with them, collaborating, partnership with them. Because there is one thing about ISECers is that no matter where you find one, you know that you have very aligned values. And you know that you can have a conversation with that person and that person is very aligned to you. So that is the way that we make sure that whatever we do is externalized in a good way. So the portfolio is also the way that we progress and evolve the organization. It's the way of externalizing the strategy and understanding what are the needs of the current generation that we have. So this portfolio will look different every year in ISEC. We might have one program, we might close one program, we might open another program, and it's just the reality of it because ISEC is not made to be static. ISEC is made to evolve and to serve the current generation that we have. So ISEC 2025 and the portfolio go in one. This is our plan, and this is how the way that we externalize our plan. We have engaged with ISEC, which is the phase that we're experimenting now. We have Heading for the Future as our new program. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And it's a very simple concept. It's a program that means to engage people. We have experiential leadership development, and here, this is the only phase of ISEC that we apply the leadership development model that we have. So it is important to understand that although everything in ISEC develops leadership, the one thing that is on purpose designed to develop leadership is the programs that are in this phase. So it is important that we understand that the value proposition of leadership is only present in these programs. This is the ones that we can prove that we are developing people. And for now, this is standards, inner and outer journey, and the leadership qualities. In a year, this will look different. We are working on a new model, on something more advanced. But also important to understand is that we are testing different programs. So we have the virtual professional program, which is one of them. And then we have the new leadership program. So we are already testing virtual professional program, which is a fully virtual program. And then we are already looking into on what is it that is going to be the new leadership program of ISEC? How is that going to look like? And this is our answer directly on how is it that we develop people in every context is through understanding and through executing on these projects. The question is very big, but then if you tackle it down step by step, it's a project itself that we are working on and Connie in my team is working on. So then you have lifelong connection, and here, and making sure that everyone actually joins an alumni organization and that we keep in contact and really create that community of ISEC that we always wanted to create. And sometimes when you are at the LC level or the MC level, you contact with people that are alumni, and they might seem very distant and far from you, but they're actually very close and they will have a very similar experience to what you are about to live. So that's also important. This is the theory, and I just wanted to mention that because when we talk about rising from the ashes and when we talk about moving forward, there is 2 things. There is the attitude of wanting to move forward and doing something different, and there is the plan that needs to be executed. If you don't have the first, you will not be able to do the last. So it all starts with one and another. And of course, you are in a privileged place in time to see all of this come true. You are not in a place in time in ISEC that everything is given for certain and that's just how it works and people just say, oh yeah, this is what we do, we are used to doing this. You came in a moment, everything is being disrupted. Programs are gonna be different, the leadership model is gonna be different, membership is gonna be different. So many things are gonna be different. That's an extremely privileged place to be, because you have the capacity of shaping your entity. And as boards, you have the capacity of holding your entity accountable to whatever we say we wanna do. And that's a very powerful place. So what's next for ISEC? If you ask me, it's putting impact at the center. It's really understanding that leadership is the central thing and that everything that we do is around that. And that leadership is very concrete in the way that we deliver our programs, in the way that we hold accountable everyone in ISEC to do the best. That's how we move forward. And we don't take excuses, and we really do things in the correct way. And we're focusing on developing young people. Those young people are going to go out there and become maybe the president of the United Nations, maybe they will open their own company, or maybe they will just really, really have an impact in their family's life. No matter how big or small, every impact is powerful. And that's how we achieve peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential. That is ultimately our vision. So remember that the leadership of ISEC has a face. It's you, all of you. It has a method, which is our leadership development model. And for us to have an ISEC that is good and that serves the world, we need to have an organization that is designed to empower every single young person. And we need to have an organization that looks at the things and does them right. And we need to rethink of possibilities. So that's the most important part, is opening our brain to understanding what is right, what is wrong, how are things changing, but what is it that is correct, and how is everything connected, and how is it that we look at the future and we know that we are responsible for it, and whatever decision we take today is going to impact someone in the future. So that is it. I hope that gave you a little bit of food for thought. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you enjoy this conference a lot. I hope you have a lot of discussions and have a lot of spaces where you can really think about how is it that you're gonna make your entities better, how is it that you're gonna serve your entities in a good way, and how is it that your job is full of responsibility, and be proud of being where you are, but also hold yourself accountable to the biggest standards. So that you are proud of the legacy you leave for the future generations. Yeah, I will pass it back to Karina. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lau. It's always super motivating to hear you speaking. And I just would like to say a very huge thank you to be with us today, chairing the conference and delivering this keynote. It's been a huge, huge, huge pleasure. And you know that I say it by heart, to work directly with you. So Lau said, but she's the AI responsible for ICB. So all of the synergy that ICB is having with AI is being managed by me and her. And we have the perfect scenario that we are even speaking in our mother language. So we're both people talking in Portuguese and defining how the future of ICB and AI will look like. And that's an amazing experience. So thank you so much for being here. Lau, feel free to join us in the conference by any time that you want. You're always invited to be here. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Bye-bye, people. Enjoy.